There was a big fall off among Catholic women for the Democrats. Fully 8% fewer Catholic women voted Democratic than had in 2 years, just 2 years ahead. It made me wonder whether or not the monogamy gap had trumped the gender gap in 1994. This is what I mean when I talk about Catholic sensibilities. I think this is what some of these voters are responding to. The more upscale Catholics are, the more Republican they were. Now this I think points though to a distinctly Catholic vote, or a vote informed at least by Catholic sensibilities. In 1994, 65% of Catholics with postgraduate degrees voted Republican. That is exactly the opposite from secular voters and Jewish voters, which the higher education levels, they tend to vote Democratic. I argue that something else is informing their vote. At the other end of the income scale, among evangelicals, low-income evangelicals, actually they have lower incomes than low-income blacks on average. Low-income evangelicals vote Republican, although low-income blacks don't. Something else is informing those votes. So higher education and higher income Catholics were increasingly Republican, but 41% of Catholics in union households also voted Republican. And the vote across evangelicals and Catholics, the Republican vote was higher among those who were most religiously observant. Let me read a quick conclusion from an interesting article for those of you who want to delve into this in even more depth. In last June's The Public Perspective, 4 political scientists sifted through the exit poll data from the 1994 election, compared it to historical trends, and they concluded new forms of ethno-religious politics are emerging, with the GOP drawing the more religiously observant voters, at least among whites, and the Democrats attracting the least observant in the major traditions, seculars, and various minority groups. They argue that in 1994, it was religious sensibilities driving those votes. They argue the same was apparent in 92, not the economy. Stupid, at least according to these political scientists. What issues showed up in those exit polls in 94? Among regular church-going Catholics who voted Republican, the 3 key issues were abortion, family values, and taxes, over the economy, jobs, and health care. Among less observant Catholics who voted Republican, family values and taxes over other issues. Even here, abortion was listed above education and health care. The Republicans in 94 were stressing family values, taxes, and they were the pro-life party. And of course, Democratic candidates tended to be stressing economy, jobs, and health care, which were not the priority issues on the part of Catholic voters in 94. Now, a little bit about what kind of a vote I think it is. I think the vote exists. It's not an ideological vote. I think it's a practical vote, oriented towards what works, as I said, as informed by Catholic sensibilities. It's not a vote that's reflexively anti-government. It's not an angry vote. I had predicted last spring that Pat Buchanan would not do well among Catholic voters, despite the fact that he's a Catholic, a loyal son of the church, and an outspoken Catholic. I think Pat's angry tone is not appealing to Catholic voters. I think expressing a positive agenda is crucial. They're against, I think, the endorsement of non-traditional values, but they don't want traditional values imposed on anybody, certainly not by government. I think it's a vote that's more uncomfortable with saints than sinners. It's increasingly, as Stu noted, a suburban vote, but Republican gains have been notable among urban Catholics too. Rudy Giuliani got 86% of the white Catholic vote in New York, and Reardon in Los Angeles got 78% of the white Catholic vote. If you talk to ethnic Catholic voters, they'll quickly tell you they don't have necessarily, they're not overwhelmingly drawn to the Republican Party, but they'll tell you they felt as though they've been pushed away by the Democratic Party. It's been more of that phenomena than the Republicans either making a special effort or putting out a special welcome mat. Let me just give you one quick example of this. Until 1988, the Democratic platform had boilerplate language in it on both abortion and Catholic schools. The abortion language said something on the order of, we recognize deep moral divisions on abortion, however, the Democratic Party remains committed to a woman's right to choose. And on schools, they said, we recognize the important contribution of parochial schools, however, we believe that the public school system, must be preserved and supported at all costs. In '88, they dropped even that language. It was, I think, they were then abandoning even the pretense of trying to appeal to Catholic sensibilities. I actually was rather surprised the language survived until 1988. But even the pretense was gone of worrying the least bit about what Catholic sensibilities might be. If you wanted to see a platform fight that would, I think, have more heat than anything you'd see in San Diego, you try to put that innocuous language back into the Democratic platform. About deep moral divisions on abortion, although we remain pro-choice, or about the important contribution of parochial schools. I submit that the Democratic Convention in Chicago would be far more of a spectacle, even with that innocuous language, than anything the Republicans will be entertaining us with in August. I think it's a problem now for the Democratic Party to address these sensibilities, at least give lip service to these sensibilities, owing to the power of the teachers' unions, the pro-choice feminists, and the gay rights activists that hold sway of the party, and will be much in evidence in Chicago. Let me just remind you the sort of things that were being said early in Bill Clinton's term. His Surgeon General was eventually fired, but not because she stated, look who's fighting the pro-choice movement, a celibate male-dominated church. That statement was made before she was even nominated to be Bill Clinton's Surgeon General, and was widely publicized among Catholics. Their own ambassador, Ray Flynn, was prompted, given the administration's arguing with the Catholic hierarchy in the Vatican at the population conference in Cairo. Ray Flynn put pen to paper and wrote to the president saying, as Vatican ambassador, he was, quote, embarrassed by the ugly anti-Catholic bias shown by prominent members of Congress and the administration. Remember Vic Fazio criticizing people with religious beliefs being involved in politics. He quickly backed off. But the general impression left was an antipathy to people with strong religious beliefs, including Catholics, emanating from the Clinton administration.